to my podcast. I'm Raabiha and I'm joined with the lovely Dr. Suchi today. Hi, Suchi, how are you?
Really good. Thank you so much for having me on. I feel so privileged to be here.
Privilege is all mine. I'm so excited that you said yes. You're a very interesting woman. So I can't wait to get into it all. But I thought let's start from the beginning. Once upon a time, you were an associate before you were a practice owner. What was your life like then?
You know, as an associate, I feel like my life revolved around just educating and educating and educating. I was the forever student and I loved going and doing another postgraduate degree and another postgraduate thing. And being an associate meant I lived so carefree. My money I earned, I traveled the world, just lived bougie.
We were richer as associates.
Oh, so much so. I think people think that being a practice owner is like, wow, you've made it and that's it. To some degree, you have to have a certain type of personality to be a practice owner because you don't have the wealth that you do as an associate, I don't think, at least for a while.
I don't.
No, I don't. But it was a great life. I think I enjoyed it so much. But what I really realized was that I think I lacked purpose. And yes, some people think that dentistry is your purpose, and that's fair enough. Doing dentistry may be what your purpose is, but that wasn't it for me. I'm not even sure I knew what my purpose was at the time. I think what I just knew was that I liked to do dentistry on my terms. I wanted to have staff around me that cared about where they were and didn't just come to work because it was a job. And I wanted to have like, not a family, because I know that family is not always the right word to have in a team, but a team that felt like they were empowered. I wanted to be a leader that I learned from when I listened to other podcasts and things like that. What changed was when I was 31, I was living this carefree life, and I literally got floored one day when my now husband walked into my room and I was like, wow, this is my guy.
Wait, was he your patient? Like, I was like, what? Wait, you walked into your surgery?
No,
What room are we discussing here, Suchi?
I worked with him. I worked with him.
Okay, got it.
So Cameron was actually a VT at the practice that I was at.
Okay,
And
dentist married dentist here, yeah.
dentist, married dentist, absolutely. And I was with a dentist before, and I don't think I was happy, clearly.
So you were married to a dentist before.
Now, and I was married to a dentist before. Things changed a lot in my life. I just found that I was doing things to keep being happy. I was like constantly going out. I was like chasing the next thing. I was going on holiday all the time. I think a lot of it was because I just didn't like being in the situation I was in. I realized eventually, and I felt like I was constricted a lot from what my personality was and what my reality was. And anyway, so I met this guy. He walked into my office, and yeah, like I was like, oh my God, there's something about this person. I feel like I need to get to know him. And it wasn't the situation where I could, and I had to make a lot of changes in my life to be able to do that. And to cut a long story short, I stopped my job. I moved, and I wanted to, like, within a few months, wanted to start a life or start exploring a life with my now husband, Cam. And, it's the best thing I did. And I'm so glad I listened to my gut, because I realized that he makes me the best version of myself. And we actually share a vision. We shared a lot in common. Our core values are very similar. And I think that's so important. And it was together that, we basically COVID hit, and we wanted to do something with our life. And this opportunity came about to build our first squat. And we got the right team together and put it together during COVID, opened our practice and put it together, and it boomed. It absolutely boomed. And I think what was really good is we didn't need to pretend. We didn't need to follow anyone else's rule book. We could just do things how we wanted. And I'm sure yourself as a practice owner maybe feel the same, that when you open something that means so much to you and it's your ethos,
Yeah.
you can enjoy going to work, even though we might be poor as anything. But
I talk to a lot of young dentists to remind them that dentistry isn't your purpose, it is your occupation. So,
yeah,
because when things go wrong, they tie you so closely to the fact that, oh, my purpose is now destroyed. So I like that you said actually the shift from associate to practice owner gave you purpose. But what do you think it was in that shift that gave you purpose? Was it the team? Was it building something? What was it?
I think what gave me purpose was knowing what my North Star was, which it took me a while to realize. And my North Star is always to help my patients in a way that they can feel the most comfortable. I want to always help people by getting to the root cause of a problem. I just don't like to be a dentist that treats the symptoms constantly, you know?
You not do that as an associate? Why can you do that now as an owner?
I could do that as an associate, and that's probably why I find it so much easier to do now, because I always used to go into that. I would spend a lot of time with my patients, even as an NHS dentist, you know, trying to find what the root cause of the problem is, working with holistic practitioners. I think there's a side of dentistry, and the holistic side of dentistry that's always resonated with me. My family is very strong in the holistic side of health. So my grandparents are like Ayurvedic practitioners and doctors as well. And, you know, my cousins are doctors, and their medical clinics are centered around East and Western wellness. So like a combination of both.
I love that as a dentist that you're doing that, by the way, because we see it in healthcare, but not dental care.
Yeah.
What have you done to combine the East and West?
It's so good. I feel like when I have a consultation now with a new patient, first of all, we have to break the norm of thinking that a consultation and a checkup is basically you just check everything in the mouth and head and neck region and that's about it, and give them some oral health advice. It's not really what it's about. We've got to understand our patient, their mental, physical situation. We have to look at their stresses. We have to look at their health as a whole. As we know, your mouth is a gateway to the rest of your body. So to get to those answers to the core, you need to be able to understand someone's health and that person, you know, that you're speaking to. And I think as dentists, because we see our patients so frequently, we're quite good at creating rapport and connection, but we can take that further to actually understand someone's health deeper. And that's how we can help them further. So now I tend to help my patients through stresses when it's probably not my place to do so always. And the other example is if someone comes to me that's getting ulcers, and I'm sure many dentists do that nowadays, but I will talk about supplements. I'll talk about what things they should be taking, what tests they can do to help understand their own health better. It's something that really helped me. And I am a big advocate for understanding your DNA, your genetics, knowing your blood work. And I think these things are so important to talk about when you talk to your patients.
I was literally talking about it the other week. It's like that spit swab, right? And then you can go
Yeah.
see. Do you do
So
that?
I did it where we did like a pinprick so it's like a small blood test and to understand my genetic, like what mutations do I have? What is my genetics like? There's me thinking that I'm just happy as Larry, getting on with my life. I go to the gym, I eat generally well. And, you know, I'm a high performing individual. And, you know, and I think like high performing individuals, we just think that stress is okay and it's normal, but we don't realize the impact it has on our body. And that's something I learned. So through the pinprick,
What did
absolutely.
it tell? If you don't mind sharing, what did you learn that, do you know what? I need to now make these changes. What did you do? Or what did you learn?
So my body doesn't react so well to high levels of cortisol, which is basically the stress hormone. And so if I don't control my stress, it affects every part of my body. And to be honest, I probably didn't need a pinprick to tell me that. You know, most of us know when we don't react well to stress, right?
I've got been telling me that. I'm not doing anything about it, but I've got it.
Oh, the Aura ring is great. I can't wear it. By the way, you're so good wearing it right now. Since pregnancy, I've had to take my Aura ring off because it keeps telling me how little I've slept and I couldn't deal with it.
Take naps though, so it's a good friend. I'm like, okay, I must nap. It's saying 58 sleep. I don't think that's good.
No, I mean, before pregnancy, I'd managed to go so when I did the genetic testing, I was sleeping 4 to 5 hours a night and waking up early for workouts, working late into the
Four to
night.
five, is that okay?
And actually, it's not that good. It's actually not good at all. And Aura did teach me that's it's not a good thing to do. But the genetic testing helped me to realize how sleep affects my circadian rhythm and also my stress hormone. And so It helped me to learn when to exercise, what type of exercise is good for me, when is best to do HIIT, when is best to do list training, like, low impact training, how low impact exercises actually were really good for my stress levels, when is a good time for me to go to the gym, what foods I should be eating, what supplements I need to take. And
From a geneticist, how accurate is that? Because sometimes I come across stuff and I get really excited, and it's like, there's no evidence base for this. I'm like, but what do you think? Like, how does it tell you what food is good for you based on your genetics?
what it's telling you is what nutrients you need more of. So, for example, let me give you an example. I don't process calcium so well. And so I have a genetic modification that stops me from doing so. So because of that, I needed to change the way that I had calcium. And I needed to have something called NAC, which is a supplement, NAC, and it helped me with my calcium absorption. I also don't methylate folate very well. So methylation is really important so that you can actually use the supplements nutrients that you have. So if you take folate supplements when you're trying for a baby, and which is what you're advised to do, but if you lack this gene that helps methylation, then you can take all the folate that you like, but actually you're not processing it well enough. And so what you need to have is a folate supplement, which is methyl folate, and you will absorb that a lot better, and you won't absorb the generic folic acid so well. So by learning things like this, it helped me to realize what I should be taking. And it's not like I should just go off to Holland and Barrett and just get a standard supplement.
Makes
Yeah,
sense. So
yeah.
do you feel like it helped you in other ways in your life as well? So you do offer this to your patients in your clinic, right?
Yeah, so we offer it now to our patients in clinic. And it's not because I'm telling them that, oh, have this genetic test done and you're suddenly going to cure your periodontal disease. So what it helped me to realize was what foods I was more at affinity to eating, and actually how will that affect me. So when I actually give my patients these tests, it's more to understand their own health and stresses, because we know how much of an effect stress has on our dental health. So for
Mm.
example, if you're clenching, if you're grinding your teeth, if people come to me with TMJ issues, you have
Yes.
to look at the root cause of the problem, right? And I think getting to the bottom of stress helps so many conditions. So if people get ulcers in their mouth and they come to you with like recurrent aphthous ulcers, we shouldn't just look at the standard treatments. Of course, they're there, but think outside the box.
I'm so glad you're saying that. Now, owning a practice is giving you that ability to incorporate what you find important, which is holistic health. And just listening to you there, I'm thinking, do you know, I can do that too. So yeah, I'm going to look into that. Thank you.
We've opened our second practice. We've actually opened right next to a wellness center, which is what we wanted to do. The practice is surrounded by greenery and nature. So when you look out of the surgery, you're just looking at birds and trees, and it's a lot more calm, and you want to instill that calm so that when someone comes into your surgery, they're normally going to speak, they're normally going to have shallow breathing, aren't they? They often feel like that, which makes them automatically on the back foot with nerves and anxiety, whereas we know how much nature helps us, and having that as a surrounding, I feel, is what I wanted for our second practice. And because we're right next to a wellness center, we can send our patients to an osteopath, the chiropractor. We can
Mm.
use the sound healing center.
This is awesome. I'm really glad you've done that.
No, so it's been really nice. So I feel like I can do dentistry on my terms.
Love that. I think that's what practice ownership is about. A lot of people think it's about being rich and doing this, and there's loads of resentment towards practice owners that we're some sort of rich money grabbers. But really, I always say to people, don't do it for the money. If you're planning to be a practice owner, it should be about different things. Like, what is your purpose? What is your why? And for us, it was autonomy, being able to do things how we want. And it's funny, I love to hear you say like trying to build a family, and feeling that word is almost taboo, but it's true. That's kind of why you go into it. You're like, I want to build a family, and unfortunately, it isn't a family. It is a team, and there are unfortunately team dynamics you have to be careful of. But
Yeah.
the fact that you can build that and you can strive towards that and have people excited coming to work, that is what we did practice ownership for, doing things kind of our way.
It's not about the money. You never chase the money when you go into practice ownership. The money will come when you're happy. It's about an abundance of happiness, and abundance of wealth will come when the rest is there. And so Don't you feel though? I mean, you're on Instagram so much, but don't you feel that on Instagram we see these happy practices everywhere? And don't you wonder how much of that is what it is? And sometimes I really wish that the rawness of staff practice ownership was brought to light, because that's why I corrected myself when I used the word family, because we want it to be a family. We want to treat them like family, but you can't always be that way. And one thing I've learned is you can't always motivate people. You can only lead by inspiring. And I feel like leadership has become something that I've really tried to focus on, because inspiring people, and then you hope that they will follow, and you hope
Yeah.
that it will have some element of an impact on them so that they want to strive to work hard. But you can never make someone work hard. And
No.
I think that's why I've had to detach myself from
Yes.
thinking of it like a family, even though I would love to. But I think that's not my right mindset. I think being a leader means that you help people to be the best versions of themselves. And then they will either step into it or they'll lean out of it. They'll either come with you or they won't. And you've got to be okay with either thing.
It's like you can take a camel to water, but you can't make him drink it. And it's kind of like now being a mum as well. I see it. Like I tell my daughter to do certain things, but she doesn't do them. She does what I do. Monkey
Yeah.
see, monkey do, right? And that's the
Yeah.
same thing with our team. Like my team laughs and you've got 14 children. I'm like, yes, I do, plus my three at home. They do, like you said, lead by example, lead by inspiring. I liked how you said that. So you're right. If we want to bring change and get them to be the best version of themselves, you have to show them you striving to be the best version of yourself. And I don't think leadership is knowing all the answers. I think it's showing them you figuring it out and being there for them figuring it out. Our team culture and dynamic is all about growth.
Yeah.
I realize we can't people don't quit bad jobs, they quit bad bosses. And I was like, okay, how do I become a good boss then?
Mm.
And it was by listening. What do you need? Like asking my receptionist, and she was like, well, actually, I'd love to nurse. Okay, let's get you into a nursing course. My nurse, what do you want? Well, I want to be a TCO. Okay, let's get you being a TCO. My associates, what do you want? I want to buy a practice. Okay, let's help you buy a practice. It's not like people have that fear mindset that if people grow, they will leave you. But actually, if you help them grow, they are the best versions for you of
Yeah.
themselves, and they're happy to be at work. And patients see that the team feels it. The culture and the energy in the practice, you build it, yes, by inspiring, but also I feel like a big one is by listening. I think that's really important. And yeah, leadership is one thing that I think I'm learning all the time. And I don't think there's a right way. There's just the honest way. And what you said about social media, I think the reason why you can't have the raw, honest truth on there is because social media is a tool,
Yeah.
and it's mainly for these practices and marketing tool.
Absolutely.
No patient wants to know that you don't know what's going on in your team, or shit is bad there, or you've got problems. Nobody wants to show it. So that's what I'm hoping via Dental Moms Network as well, is to let the community understand that within it, actually, we have problems. We're not perfect. We are juggling it. It is hard. And this is the real version. And I think now you've been a part of her practice WhatsApp for female practice
Yeah.
owners, and you've noticed now as well that the problems that are coming up in there, we've all got the same problems. And as
Absolutely.
women, I feel like, our problems are very similar. And it is about team dynamics and staff. And I don't know, what would you say has been your biggest difficulty or challenge in practice ownership?
I think initially thinking that I knew what I was doing with everything. I thought that I was the bomb. I thought I'm a great leader. I'm so good at listening and this and that and everything. It came crashing down on me one day when um, one of the team said to my manager, she just sort of tells me what to do and she listens, but I don't think she finishes listening to me. I had to really check in with myself, and it traumatized me, but in a
Yeah,
great way, because I realized that you have to be present. You have to be present and you have to listen to everything to the end. And to be a really good listener, it's like what Nelson Mandela said, is like, be the last person to talk and listen to every single person, including the smallest person in your business, and then talk. And I really had to learn a lot about listening, like you said, and make sure that I did that. And when I started to do that more, I realized I could become a better leader. And that was a harsh truth that I needed to hear, you know. but it was good.
Wow, that's a beautiful introspection. I love that. And it's funny. I want to know what did you feel when you heard that first? What was it?
I was like totally defense mode for a moment, and I had to go home and like think about it. And she was right. She was absolutely right.
Did you think about it yourself, or did you have to tell somebody this to give you that introspection?
There's a really interesting thing you say. So I do think about things myself. However, I feel like I've become a better leader since I've had a coach. And you asked me a while ago before we started about like what podcasts I like
Yeah.
and what I listen to. So you know, your tribe is your vibe. And sometimes
Mm.
it's not always just about the people that you have immediately physically close to you in your life, but also what you listen to can help you to become a better person or what you spend your time watching. And I loved listening to Tony Robbins, and I ended up going to a lot of his events. I went to UPW and now I do Mastery University. And I feel like the absolute immersion that you have in his events helps me to create big shifts in my life that I need and that otherwise would take me quite a bit of time to make. And I feel like my coach every other week helps me to put things into perspective. I can improve on myself. I can come up with ways to help my team, and my coach helps me to process a lot. So it's not quite like having a therapist.
Yes.
It's a business coach, but I've had a therapist too, and I think that therapy is brilliant too.
But what would you say was the latest thing that your coach has helped you with? Or the biggest thing, actually? Let's say, what was the biggest change your business coach helped you with? So if I've got practice owners listening right now, what
Mm.
would you say that, okay, if you, this one was the biggest change?
So I shared this on the WhatsApp group recently, but the biggest thing was my coach helped me to understand what disc analysis is. And disc analysis is when you actually evaluate someone's characteristics and personality. And it basically helps you to communicate with them better. And it helps them to understand themselves and us to understand ourselves. And it
Yeah.
helps different types of individuals to communicate better together. So as a team, she suggested that we have like a meetup where we organize an event where we get to know each other better via things like doing disc analysis and
Mm.
lots of events and lots of activities that center around being able to communicate with different types of personalities better. And it was one of the best things that we've done. And I feel like as a team, people understand each other a lot better.
So how did you do it? So disc me, okay? So just so people listening can understand, how did you carry this out? Because you know, sometimes you hear something and then it comes to the application. So you know like the what, but it's the how.
Well, the how is there's actually a protocol to doing it. So there's like a website that you can go on that helps you to do a disc analysis. So we sent it to all of our team. So I would send it to you, and you would have about 10 minutes worth of questions to answer that will help to create this disc profile. It will help you to understand, are you like a dominant personality? You know, what sort of personality are you? Are you more subdued? There's quite a few bits there. When you go through it, you'll be able to understand what disc profile you have. Most people have two main characteristics, and most of my nurses are S-type personalities, and all of the principals were Ds. And so it's quite a hard situation to be in, but understanding how to communicate with each other when you are these personalities was really important.
Have you done this with your husband? I feel like you both probably are DI because of
Yeah,
your
I think
goal settings.
we are DI. He was very much a D, and I was more like equal D and equal I, dominance and
Mm.
influence.
I want to try this on my husband because we're quite opposite actually. But I
Oh,
think that
really?
works because we're opposite.
Yeah.
Do you think
You
you
know,
work because you're similar, or do you have like, this isn't right now we're tanging off from business to marriage, but I think that's important, like,
it is
because
important, especially when you're in
your
business
life
together.
exactly, and she owns a practice with her husband, so do I.
Yeah, you do. You do. It's good because we can go forward with ideas with like boldness, and I feel like, you know, you need to have a certain sort of gut strength
Mm.
to be able to make some big decisions when you come to having businesses and opening new businesses.
Yeah.
And you can't always doubt yourself. So the good thing is that we both have that dominance. However, I don't know if this falls under disc so much, but he's like my anchor, and I would say I'm like his anchor. You know, we help each other to see the best in each other. When we can't see that in ourselves, he definitely helps me to see the best in me. And I would say that I'm the same for him. And I think that that really helps in business. And people always
Mm.
talk about how, you know, being in a business with your husband is probably not a great thing. Don't mix pleasure and business, blah, blah, right? I mean, I'd love to know how you found it because so far for me, you have to have certain rules.
What are your rules? What are your rules and boundaries? So for people who want to do business with their partners or siblings is not so bad because you can see them 24/7. So people with their partners, spouses, what are your boundaries that you would say have helped make this a success?
I mean, come on, like we've opened a second business right now, so it's been very busy. But we don't actually talk shop at home that much. We do that in an office setting. So we've got a separate office setting. We reserve it for those times. We do, when we've got an exciting idea, we'll definitely talk about it at home. But we try not to bring business to home because it can get heated. We know this, right? You know this, right?
Well, the thing is, we're three, so my brother's in it too. So usually it doesn't get a chance to get heated because one of us gets voted out, right? So it's like,
Yeah.
well, that's the finish. There's no heating.
I mean, there's three of us in a partnership too.
Who's the third?
Yeah, so the third is our friend, who's also a dentist, and we worked together for several years. And we always said that we would go into partnership with each other because we kind of like the way each other works. So it's Dr. Ritesh, and he's brilliant because he brings a different dimension altogether.
This is why partnership works.
It does, and you get to balance the stress load a bit better as well. Yeah.
Share the joys together and the woes. But yeah, definitely.
I mean,
Okay, so boundaries, no shop at home.
don't talk shop at home. Probably that's the only boundary when it comes to it. Like we just have to be careful, and we actually take time to have breaks away where we don't think about work that much at all. We love traveling. I mean, that's changed since we've had a baby.
Yeah, I can't wait to get to that chapter of your life. Well, now you brought it up. How has life changed? Got a beautiful baby girl, Sophia, 6 months old. How has life changed?
The whole purpose thing, it changed. I mean, my coach told me when she would listen to me talk, she always said to me that you have a real affinity to children, and it really, like, children are so important to me even before I had children. I'm not that sort of person that's like obsessed with kids, but I really love children. And I think since having Sophia, I realized how important she is. And I feel like motherhood was a calling to some degree. And I'm sure so many mothers feel that way. But we have this guilt as practice owners that can we balance it all? I only took 3 months away from clinical dentistry to be from maternity leave. And we were building a new practice in that time. So I was still in the admin side of things. And sometimes I wonder, was it a bad thing that I didn't completely step away to give my absolute all to my maternity leave like so many people do? But at the end of the day, we don't need to compare. I think one of the best things about us as women and also women who own businesses is that we are great at juggling in a good way. I would hope to think that I'm good at juggling, but I compartmentalize life. You know, when my head is in one place, I will focus on that. When my head is in another, I'll focus on that. So I'm not the jack of all trades. And so I can give my all to whatever I'm doing. And I think when I'm with Sophia, even though I'm a business owner, everything is about her. And I love that.
Sophia is now 6 months old, and you opened your squat when?
Last week, we opened our first squat 4 years ago, and we opened our second squat last week.
I had baby and business opening at the same time.
Yeah.
How did this
So
happen?
I had a baby quite late. So I got divorced at 31. So I had to find a life partner that mattered and that I wanted to have a baby with. And the person I found, I'm in an interfaith marriage. So my husband is Muslim and I am a Hindu. And it's not the norm, I would say. You know, I guess it's breaking the norm. And I would hope to think that it's becoming more and more of a norm. And so there was a lot of taboos, and there was a lot of like, is this going to work? Is it something that is going to be right for both of us? We weren't sure. We needed to make sure that we could be ourselves. And it takes time, I think, to get to know someone and to really understand someone. I'm not the person that could get into a marriage and have a baby immediately because it takes me a while to trust and get to know someone.
Mm.
It's just the way I am. And so for me, I needed that time. And I'd say 10 years later or 9 years later, we knew it was right, but I struggled to get pregnant and for many reasons. But I honestly believe the biggest reason was stress. We don't realize how much stress we hold, and I didn't realize how much stress I held. You know, I am not in the best shape of my life like I used to be before pregnancy. And basically, I was a long distance runner. I ran all the time. I also used to get up early, go to the gym, go to like big workouts. I was very controlled with my eating. I'd say that I didn't sleep very well, which Aura taught me.
Mm.
And I think all of this has an impact on your stress levels, which has an
Mm.
impact on your fertility. We don't realize how much of an impact it can have, especially, I think, as you get older. And we don't realize the impact that dentistry has on our stress levels.
Yeah, it is.
Um, so when I did my genetic testing, I realized how much stress affected me. I got to work correcting that, taking the right supplements, doing like cold showers, helping my body to
Was
manage
this
stress.
as a result of the genetic testing, or was this a
Yes.
result of trying to get pregnant and not being able to get pregnant?
Happened together. I went to a biohacking conference where I realized what genetic testing can do. And then I did the testing and I started to make changes slowly. It takes time to see any results. And then I was also trying to get pregnant, and hand in hand, it kind of came together as I learned more and more about how to equip my body to stresses. So
Yeah.
things like cold plunges, things like red light therapy,
Mm.
making sure that I'm sleeping better. You know, all these things actually help me to become in better health, I would say. I also went to visit my cousin who I mentioned earlier. She basically has a clinic in North Carolina, and I did a lot of detoxing with her. And we use like electromagnetic frequencies and a lot of other things to detox. I think doing everything regularly maybe helped me because very soon after all of that, I, well, I actually did IVF as well, but I was very lucky enough to not need to use a frozen embryo to get pregnant. And I got pregnant naturally eventually as well. And it all happened, I think, as you let go of the stresses.
You've had IVF, you've had egg freezing, you've had. So wait,
Yeah.
when did you start trying?
When I was 35, I went to a gynecologist and, wanted to know if I should really freeze my eggs at that time. The doctor said to me, "Oh, you don't need to worry about it. Maybe come back when you're 39 if you haven't had a baby." I wish I hadn't listened to that advice because what I know and from reading and understanding now is that the earlier that you freeze eggs or embryos, the better quality they are. And so if you're going to be thinking about it, think about it sooner. So I actually tell, we have a very girl heavy team, and I always tell them, look, if you're not sure, go and get things frozen if you want to. As more and more women are delaying having children. And I think it's really important to think about egg quality and embryo quality if you are going to do that. And I think as high performing individuals, we tend to do that, especially when we're in careers where we study and study and study for ages.
I get asked this a lot. I want to have kids, but I want to do this first. I want to do this first. Is this the right time? And I never have the answer. So I guess egg freezing buys you that time.
Yeah, it was something that bought me time. I haven't, I guess, needed to use it to have a baby at the moment, but I'm 41 now. So if I wanted to have another one, then I know that I've got a bank of embryos, and it doesn't work always very well the first time round. I had to have 2 cycles of egg collection to get 4 embryos that now I have frozen. And remember that not though all those embryos may not always work. And I told you that I really love listening to the Huberman Lab podcast, and I went off and did my homework into what makes good quality eggs, what makes good quality sperm. And I think we don't think about how important it is that our habits as parents to be,
Yeah.
that has an impact on eggs and sperm. And me and my other half sat down and thought about what's our lifestyle like, what do we eat and drink, what is our nutrient content, and what supplements should we have for the best sort of chances. And I think maybe all of that helped too.
So then you had Sophia naturally.
Yeah, then we had Sophia naturally, and it all worked out well. And it was a beautiful pregnancy. I worked all the way till the last week to my due date, and then she was 2 weeks late anyway. It's a roller coaster, and again, there's so many stresses and pressures on you when it comes to pregnancy. And I wanted to have this water birth and all this, and
I'm guessing the water birth didn't happen then.
well, we wanted to make it happen, but she was late, and I really felt pressured about having an induction. And so I had the first step of an induction, and that sort of halted the whole water birth dream. And
Yeah.
I think in hindsight, as much as I had some great guidance from a hypnobirthing Doula, love a doula. Doulas were just the best thing for me. As much as she was telling me, like, listen to the doctors, like, go with your gut, she will come when she's ready. I still cave to the induction. At the end of the day, she's here, and that's what matters. And I know inductions work really well for some people, but I feel like it really pushes things towards a C-section quite a lot. And I I think I've learned that to listen to your gut. And that was my first lesson having her to realize that I should always listen to my gut when it comes to motherhood.
Now you're in the thick of motherhood, 6 months out. How is life? How is life is the only question I have. How is life?
Like, practice owners and your dentists, we're in high stress jobs and we have kids and we're trying to juggle everything. We have staff. It's fantastic. I would love to know, actually, from you, Rabia, how much time did you manage to take out for your children as a practice owner?
Took off a year.
That's amazing.
I had the I had the chance because my brother is a dentist and my husband was doing the running, I had the ability to just take that time off when it came to my first. Did admin side from home, but I was able to be home with my first it was during the pandemic, with my eldest. And now she's 4.5. And with the twins, I did the same thing. It took a year. I think our bodies take up a full 2 years to recover. So a year, I felt hormonally, mentally, physically, even now, 1.5 years postpartum, I still feel not fully myself yet. I
Yeah.
think people don't realize how much pregnancy takes from you and how much postpartum takes from you. So I really felt that. And I was privileged enough to take that time off. And even now, I feel like I'm still on maternity leave because I've only gone back a day clinical, a day and a half here and there. But I'm lucky to do that. Many can't. And that's kind of the joy of being a practice owner. In some cases, when you're signing up a squat and you're new, you can't do that. But then
Yeah.
if you're already an established business, that's why a lot of young dentists, when they ask me, I'm like, yeah, do practice ownership for that flexibility if you go in with a partner, because then you can lean on each other when you need. So
Absolutely.
there's pros and cons, and it depends how your business runs, and it depends how your structure is. So I was lucky in that
Mm.
chance to get that time. My mum said something interesting to me today. Since I've launched the network in Jan, I've been very busy.
Yeah.
And because I don't have a set clinical day, I haven't been able to compartmentalize my life very well. So I find getting emails from people, trying to run events, things have kind of taken over my time a lot.
Yeah.
So, I feel like my kids are not getting the best version of me. Or so a lot of people say, how are you juggling it? And I feel like I'm doing it poorly, to be honest. There's a lot of mum guilt. So
Yeah.
I'm working on kind of trying to take my time back so that my kids are not what my mum said to me really kind of wrong. She was like, you're doing really well, but I've noticed recently, I feel like you're doing it like a tick box. I've taken care of myself, I've eaten, I've prayed, I've played with my kids, I've given them attention. That's it. She was like, but that
Yeah.
joy of motherhood, where's that? And I was like, what do you mean, mum? Of course, I love my kids, I love that time with them. She's like, yes, but are you doing it to make sure you're giving them time, or doing it from like, within that proper joy? And I was
Yeah.
like, maybe lately in the last couple of months where all this stuff has been happening at the same time, maybe I haven't. And I
Yeah.
was like, I need to take back my time. And that comes from organization, mentalizing, having a coach guiding you. So yes, I've got a coach now. Yes, now I'm going on to Notion to organize my life. My husband's been pushing me because I'm like, I have so much up here, and he's like, he's like, you're super, but you're really poorly organized. And like you said, like that time when your staff member said that to me, I was like, what do you mean? I am organized. And then looked at all the stickies in my phone. I was like, shh, I am not organized.
You not feel like sometimes you feel torn because you know your capability as as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, as a dentist, you know your capability, how much you can bring to the team, to the business in your partnership, but at the same time you need to give that time, and you want to give that time to your little baby that's growing and growing, and you're not going to get that time with them at that age, at that moment again. And sometimes I'm like, I know I can do this really well. I just want to step in, but I'm just stepping out. And you're right. That is absolutely something that as a practice owner in a partnership, we can step out. I'm also 1 day a week, and it's not full time. But I think delegating and being able to be this person that thinks of all the ideas and then also thinks of how to get everyone to do it is really good.
I get so many. And I was saying to my husband, I was like, I just get constantly flooded with ideas. And I was like, I need to like rip myself into multiple people because, and he was like, delegate. I need to know, should put your ideas as they come up. There's so many, like, I'm getting overwhelmed by them. People look to me for the answers, and I'm like, I don't have them. I'm a mess myself. Through this podcast just so you guys can help me out, I looked at that Thrive event and I picked speakers and topics. I was like, I need this, I need this, I need this, I need this. So I didn't get to listen to it. I realized afterwards I was running the damn thing, but no, I'm not perfect. I don't think I'm going to get that. I'm in progress, always a work in progress. And I'm hoping at some point it'll become less frantic. People ask me about mom guilt. I think it's always there. It means you want to be the best mom you can possibly be and you want to do the best for your kids. So I think guilt is good.
Yeah.
Maybe not good to have extreme amounts of guilt, but a little bit. So not the all-consuming type of guilt that leaves you a mess and you're no good to anyone, but more the guilt that drives action.
I definitely feel that just being present in everything I'm doing. Like, say if I'm at home and I'm with Sophia, I now put my phone away so that I don't hear the constant notifications of my staff, wanting things. And I'll put that all to one side so that my attention's with her. And that's definitely something that's helped me. I got myself a PA a couple of years ago, and actually having a PA is the best thing I've done.
ChatGPT is my PA. But it was either PA or house help, so I went for house help.
House help is what I need for sure. It sounds like your mum's not too far away as well.
So if I need her, honestly, I look at her and I think, oh my God, I was so lucky I had an awesome mum. Like, she's amazing. And then sometimes I think, crap, are my kids getting the best mum or not? But luckily, they have a nanny, what they call nanny and my mum, as a mum too. So I'm like, great, you guys can benefit from my super mum, So
Well, it's
yeah,
true
I
though.
think
They say that it takes a village to raise a child, right? And I realized how important it is to have your family around you for this. And my parents live in Manchester, so it's quite far from where I live, and they can't always be there. But my mum, she's bless her, she comes down every week to see Sophia as much as she can and spend time with her. And it's amazing because I feel like our mums are like the best nanny.
you trust them more than yourself. I know if my mum is there, I have no worries. I'm like, you can totally handle it while I'm just gonna. But yeah, since I've got now 3 kids, it's almost like, no, mum, I can't leave you with them because I know what they like. My twins are 1.5. I'm like, they're mini terrors. Can't. I'll be changing one's nappy and I see the other one's like, haha, mum's busy and she's like gone to do something naughty. So I have to catch her and then come back to the one on the change table who's about to jump off. My ring. I realized how crazy it was when it was like, are you rollerblading or are you doing some sort of fitness cardio? I was like, no, man, I'm just watching my kids. And I was looking at my stress levels and it was like, your two most rested moments, 12:30 p.m., 8 p.m. And I was like, crap,
When they
that's
go
when my
to sleep.
children nap and when they go to sleep. And then once it was like 17 minutes ago, you were relaxed. What were you doing? I was actually gardening at that time. It was the thing what you said about being away from your device. That's one thing I've done now as well. Like things I'm trying to implement is put it away. But actually, do you have more things like that? Because I think a lot of our listeners are women who are juggling a lot of things, and well-being is a big thing. And, we've talked about genetic testing and boundaries and, introspection, all that type of things. But what would be your top kind of 3 well-being tips? Because, I think we don't take care of ourselves enough.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like just a little clause here that I'm still trying to get it all together.
Sorry, that's a disclaimer on this whole podcast. We're both, everybody's getting it together. We're work in progress.
I feel like I'm trying to get some of myself from what I was, pre-pregnancy back still, and some of those habits that I had. But what I've realized is that when I give myself time to become a better version of me, or when I give myself time to be healthier or more balanced, I'm actually better for Sophia. And, I have to keep reminding myself of that because as a mum, we're always centered around our children. Everything is for them, I feel. And, we are the last people we think about. And I think it's really important that we bring that into balance at some stage. So what I try and do And it's been hard when Sophia's not been sleeping as well as she's now getting into a better sleep routine. And because of that, I feel like I can get up and in the morning I can go and see sunlight first thing. So my things that I do are to help me balance my stress levels, get my circadian rhythm right. So first thing in the morning, I'll feed the cats, go and see like daybreak and look at the horizon. And I know that that always makes me feel better. I still, to this day, like I'll always take time for breath work. And when I'm feeling overwhelmed with a gazillion tasks or people messaging me, when I put my phone away to be with Sophia, I actually do breath work like with her, like, Sophia, we're going to breathe. And I'll
What
do
breath
like,
work do you do
so
in the house?
it's simply like a, a double breath in, like a full breath in, and then a second breath, hold it briefly, and then a sharp breath out. Yeah.
That's Ayurvedic breathing, right? I've seen people do that. Is that Ayurvedic
That
breathing?
is one of the breathing that you can do, but that double breath technique is so good. I think it's a Wim Hof technique as well.
Maybe, yes, the
Yeah.
Iceman. Yes, yes,
Yeah, the
yes.
Iceman. And,
Okay.
I think that's so good. I totally realize how much it helps me to de-stress. And when you breathe out, you do like an O with your mouth. And when you breathe out that way, it activates your parasympathetic nervous system and it helps you to relax very quickly. Something that I tell my patients all the time too. And it really works. So I do that as many times as I need to. And that small technique like balances me. I'm trying to get back to doing 2 to 3 minutes of meditation in a day, which I used to do. I've not found the time for it just yet.
Well, my husband says you will never find the time. You have to make the time.
Make the time. You do, you do. So at the moment, the only time I have is like after 7:38, which is like not when I really normally think about meditating. But babies actually pick up on our energy, don't they? And so when we're stressed, they pick up on that, or when we're anxious or anything like that. So breath work, calming ourselves, probably helps them so much.
The monkey see, monkey do we spoke about, right?
Exactly, exactly. And I wonder how much your kids have picked up from the little things that you do, and the small things that you might teach them in your own habits.
Like you said, I'm constantly learning, I like to speak to people about it because it'll give me advice. Seeing my mother, I think she's a super mom, but also a really bad example of self-care. I feel like
Mm,
she always put us, my dad, us kids, house first, not herself. And I learned that. And now, if I keep doing that, my kids are going to learn that. And now they're going to burn themselves out.
yeah,
So I keep forcing mum to take care of herself. And she's like, it's too late now. It's too late. I'm like, it's not too late, mum. I love the care, but I'm like, what about you? Right.
yeah,
And I feel like I don't want my kids to do the bad things that I do. So I need to change myself. And I remember a lot of people saying it's not about me first, it's about me too. But actually, I remember speaking to someone and she was like, why not me first?
mm,
If you pour into your cup, only then can you pour into the other cups. I'm sure you've heard this cup analogy, like
yeah,
filling up your cup so that you can go into the cups that may be your kids, your family, your life, your business. And you can't just keep pouring because you've got a finite amount of water.
exactly,
So once you pour,
exactly.
then you've got nothing left for yourself. So you
Yeah,
need to put on your mask first, like the airlines say, before you take off, before you help others. So
yeah,
now in the morning, before I used to get up frantic, get the kids ready, but I hadn't brushed my teeth. I hadn't washed my face. I hadn't showered. Like I'm not changed. I'm running around in my pajamas like a loony bin. And I still do that some days. But most days I try to do like basic self-care first and then have food, have my granola and if I want to watch a bit of telly with it and drink my pint of water and take my iron supplement, and it sounds so silly that these basic things I'm counting as self-care, but it is. It's taking care of me and my body and my well-being, and then being approaching my kids from a calm place, not from a place that I need to pee. I feel gross. I'm not ready for the day. I'm not, I'm hungry. And that makes you an erratic, irritable mother, and I don't want to be that. So these little things, and then in terms of getting the ring to check in on myself, like, okay, I've not slept well enough today, take a nap so I can be healthy, putting my phone away. So these things are basic, but these things for me have been big changes in how I am approaching kind of motherhood. And my daughter the other day, I had to do so many things, had so many deadlines, and she goes, "Oh, mama." So what? Take a deep breath, mama. And she's only 4. And I was like, sorry, baby, thank you. Because I say it to her when she's overwhelmed and she's
Yeah.
frustrated, take a deep breath. And, and like if she can't do something with her toys or she's not happy with her coloring, I've started messing up now with her as well, like making mistakes. Because my husband was like, she's getting frustrated because she's never seen you fail at things. I'm like, no, I tell her it's okay to fail. It's okay. It's not about failing. It's about trying, having fun. He's like, yeah, but she's not seen you do that. So now I'm like, okay, build the tower. Oh, I broke it. Oh, what can I do? And then she's like, it's okay, Mum, we can try again. It's okay. And so I've seen that change in her now. She kind of coaches herself first. Okay, Alana, this looks good. And I'm like, I need to lead by example, lead by inspiring. It's, yeah, motherhood is like a whole different introspection, self-reflection, self-improvement game. You realize how many flaws you have when you're a mother.
What you've just said is that all the things that we learn from having a team, from managing staff and trying to build a business, a practice, all those things, that the qualities that we've picked up, they come in really handy in motherhood. And it's actually we're in a massive benefit as being women, mothers, and owners of businesses, and like managing teams, because we have these things that we think about, and that's something that we naturally do now, right? And it's a massive positive.
I think so. But I think, the funny thing is, a lot of women say to me that they feel like since becoming mothers, they're less relevant, not needed. People will see them as less committed, or they've taken too long a career break. That means they're not going to be good employees. And that stuff is still around. So being a woman practice owner, how have you, do you think, made it a better workplace for women and mothers? What have
Yeah,
you done?
it's really tough because I don't think that I don't think men always understand it to that degree. And I think that when you have your business hat on, you can't always make the sacrifices that you may need to for someone who wants to take a certain amount of maternity time off and give them that pay that they might want, because it might damage the business too much. But one thing that I really I'm on a mission to push more for is to allow mothers to take enough maternity leave with a good amount of, pay that they can sustain themselves so that they can be present for their kids as they're growing up. And, the benefit to the business is that that person is going to feel so like indebted, and so, not in a bad way. I don't mean to sound in a bad way, but they're going to be so grateful for what you've allowed them to do. You're going to have an employee for a long-term employee. I think one of the things that came up in a WhatsApp group the day was to accept that employees probably going to not all, they turn over, but they don't have to always turn over that fast. If you can make them feel rewarded, if you can meet their needs, then you can actually help to keep them. And that if they're a great employee, it works really well. And how do you know if someone's actually worth putting the effort into as an employee? And so there's this whole quadruple way of thinking where, say if you have a piece of paper, and in this square you have someone who can do something and someone who won't do something, and someone who can't do something and someone who will do something. Okay, so you've got this sort of 4 boxes. Now, if you have someone that they can't do something, but they will try, it's a great person. If you
Yeah.
have someone who can't do something and they won't do something, they just don't want to try, you got to think about how much you want to invest in them.
Yeah.
And so there's someone who will do something, but they really can't, you can teach them. So if you look at this box of ways of approaching an employee, you know how much you can invest in them. And I think the balance that I had to come to with my business partners is, if someone is really worth investing in, give them some perks, give them something that makes them feel like I can have a life, a family. I know my job is going to be safe and secure, and
Mm.
that person's going to be committed to you. So if
Yeah.
someone is worth investing in, do that for them. However, I'm not an advocate in just blanket ruling it,
Yeah.
because I think there are some people who twist the system. They might do things for themselves. I don't believe in like getting something for nothing as well.
As a mother, as your little one grows up, you will know, and if you have more children, you'll know what you're individual kids are like, and you can't treat all your children the same because they're
No.
different people, they're different personalities, and their needs are different. And that's the same with your staff. How you approach them, how you coach them is very different. How you guide them based on their needs, their character, their personality, if they're the can't or the will do, won't do. So yeah, you're right. There is no blanket approach. And the thing you said about loyalty is so true. You know, when you show up as a human first, they will respect that. I was an associate at my VT practice, and when I got married, my mother-in-law passed away. So we had to fly over to Australia, and I didn't know how long I would be there. I didn't know if I was going to go move to Australia or whether I was going to come back. And I remember telling my boss, I was like, I was past my VT then. I was actually working for him, and I was like, I don't know, Dr. Gill, if I will be back. And he said, don't worry, Rabia. Family comes first. Your job will be here when you come back, whenever that is.
Yeah.
And I went back and I just, I outgrew that job very quickly. It was a kind of a Nash bashing practice and it wasn't the kind of place I wanted to be at. But out of loyalty, I stayed for years for him. I stayed for, 2, 3 years over I should have. I ended up getting another job somewhere else part-time, but stayed with him because of that loyalty and that respect. So you're right.
Thoughtfulness. And I think as business owners and employers, we must remember that. If we lose that, then we just don't have a good team around us.
God, I could talk to you forever, Suchi. This has been such a great podcast. I kind of want to end it. Actually, I don't. But I want to end it with some advice. 10 years ago, if you could go back and give yourself advice and, anybody listening, what do you feel like is the most important thing you've learned over these last 10 years? I'm sure we've touched a lot on it, but something you could give our listeners to be like, okay, take this home with you.
I still have this imposter syndrome in me. Like, am I really worth it? And what I can only say is that I spent a long part of my life at university and afterwards trying to do things to please other people. And are my staff happy? Is my family happy? Is my other half happy? So I think the biggest advice I'd probably give is don't spend your time trying to think about what other people think of you. And we spend a lot of time doing that. I spent a lot of time doing that at university. I thought I was this cool, edgy chick. So much of what I did was just to create a bit of noise. But being the loudest in the room is not actually the best thing. And what you really want to be is comfortable with yourself, real with yourself. You want to be authentic and genuine, and that might not fit everyone's books and that might be boring to some, but that doesn't matter, because when we're authentic and when we're genuine, we are like unstoppable. We're limitless. And I think a lot of us are harsh on ourselves, women in business as dentists. But what I try and do is say to myself, like every day, have I given it my all today? Have I grown or just like improved by just 1%? Have I changed anything? Do I feel happy with everything that I've done today? And if I don't, I will reflect on it. I journal every evening and
Me
I'll
too.
reflect on it. And once I've done that introspective piece, I'll put
Yeah.
that day to bed and then I start afresh. And just being grateful I know it's such a basic practice that people talk about, but I don't think enough people do it. And if you do, it's amazing. I went through a phase of my life of not doing it all the time. And then now I do it every morning. I'll just think of 3 things to be grateful for. But it's
Mm.
amazing. It starts your day in a brilliant way. When I do bedtime stories with Sophia, I have made a story out of my visualization I think of every day. So I've been using visualization to really like try and shape my life for several years. And it's crazy how much it does, help you to get to where you want to be. And I now do it with Sophia at bedtime. And I've created, using ChatGPT, a story out of my visualization board. And, it's great because I think about it with her. And I think doing these little things and little practices and keeping to a little routine, it's like what you said about atomic habits. Having these little habits have helped me to be grounded. And I think that just helps me to show up as a mum and show up as a business owner. And yeah, that keeps me going.
That's amazing. I'm going to let you go now so you can enjoy your evening with your lovely baby. And yes, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure. And I hope this podcast becomes everything you want it to be and helps so many mums. I'm sure it will.